for our mini wave coming out. And unfortunately, there is no microchip within Geordie's figure that will get him to say the interesting, does this kind of odd noise, I'm sure it was like a ship thing from back in the day. He will not make that sound. But other than that, he will come with a lot of accessories.
All right, so Nicholas, I think you are familiar with this next character, Valeris. Any thoughts on Valeris figure?
I'm not sure what you mean. It sort of looks like Kim Cattrall.
You got to be on your game, Brian.
All right, yeah, that's good. It's a great point, actually. Great point.
Why? And again, I'm
The
sure she had a
internet is
great
pretty bad
audition,
here.
but
Apologies.
why did you cast her? Or can you tell us a great story about what she brought to the character that maybe wasn't in the script? Because she nailed it.
She did nail it. The origin of... How many people here have seen Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country? Okay, so basically the idea was originally written to be Lieutenant Savick.
Yeah, I'll do a roundup when the thing
And what
ends.
we thought was cool was to have somebody that we liked and trusted turn out to be a traitor. And for one reason or another, Kirsty didn't wind up playing Savick. And I didn't want another Savick actress trying to do that. So we created Valeris, which was a name that we cooked up with Kim. And one of the things that I loved about what Kim did was she never tried to sort of pull her punches anywhere in the movie, including the way she wore her hair and was rather severe. She did nail this audition, and we borrowed, or at least I borrowed, elements from Wagner's The Ring. And Valeris is sort of modeled on Brunhilde in Valkyrie, who disobeys Wotan. In this case, it would be Valeris and Kirk. Did I misinterpret you? Did I misunderstand you? Let them die, you said. And this is exactly a paraphrase of Brunhilde talking to Wotan in The Ring. I don't remember, but I mean, Kim totally glommed on to that. I'm not sure that she knew the Wagner before I introduced her to it. But she understood right away the parallel. Did I misinterpret you?
By the way, in a related note, we have a full-time employee at Nacelle, makes about $250,000 a year, whose only job is to make sure everything the public sees does not confuse Valeris with Valkyris. That literally is all she does. That's barely a joke, by the way. And it takes a lot of attention with these two names.
Which of those characters came first?
Valeris. No, Valkyris. Now I'm getting confused.
Oh, fully.
No, they're very different.
So on to figure 15, Romulan commander from the original series. Brian, tell us about it.
So again, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if anybody out there is like, well, Brian, why do you get to choose these? And by the way, for the record, there is a lot of oversight from Paramount. And I know you don't hear this a lot, but I always want to go out of my way to say, because it's true, Paramount has been a wonderful, wonderful partner. So I always like to give them credit, because not everybody we work with are wonderful partners. But Balance of Terror is my favorite episode. That's why we're doing him. It really is that simple. I know there's a lot of Charlie X fans out there, and God willing, we're going to get to them. But I love Balance of Terror. He's never been done before, even though Mark Leonard, I think almost every other character he's ever done has been made. So that's why we're doing the well-named, brilliantly detailed name, Romulan Commander.
All right, so figure 16, Carol Marcus from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Brian,
Again, Salamander Tom Paris. How has there not been Carol Marcus? So there will be a Carol Marcus early next year for anybody who wants to buy her.
Can you put a Carol Marcus figure in the mail for you, Mr. Meyer?
Sure.
Great. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Nog, number 17.
Wow, I always love hearing the reactions. You gotta do Nog. So we're doing Nog. The question you're all gonna ask, yes, he will be able to do it. I don't want to get into too much detail, but it'll be a very respectful detachable leg. Obviously, war is a very serious thing. It's always been a very serious thing, even when it's in science fiction. But he will come with a detachable leg, and he'll, of course, come with a cane. And if you've been paying attention, what else is he going to come with? A lot of accessories.
All right, so figure 18, last figure in wave 2. Oh my God.
So, just to alert everybody that there will be a shortage of magnets next year when BEM goes into production. So, we're going for it. We chose, for those of you that don't know, BEM can literally separate like his head from his neck, his arms from his shoulders, his legs from his hips. And we're not going to be like doing all that crazy stuff, but all the appendages will be able to come off. They will reattach via magnets, hopefully. And we went for it. For everybody wondering, why didn't you do X and Y? Again, they've been made. Hallmark has done great versions. Other companies have played around with them. We try with every wave, and I heard it. I heard a lot of people say, oh, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to show you that we get it, and we want to do cool stuff that'll go on your shelf with all the other cool stuff that's come before us.
All right, so that's your complete lineup of 10 figures for wave 2 and the Wi-Fi thing coming up.
Do I get to tell my Star Trek toy story?
I would love it.
This is the time I made a kind of a Star Trek toy. It's the only thought I ever had in my life. When we finished Star Trek 6, the crew,
We're talking
they
Star
asked
Trek
me,
right now, dude.
what would you like as a souvenir from the movie? And they offered me the Klingon steering wheel from the Bird of Prey, which was pretty heavy. I said, okay, I'll take that. I don't know what I was going to do with it. But then I said, you know what I really would like is, I would like one of the blankets from the crew, from the Enterprise crew, because it said Enterprise on it. And the prop guy said, well, you can have it, but it's only a stencil. It'll come off. But now I had this thing up my tush about a Star Trek blanket. Wouldn't that be cool? You know, souvenirs are great. The Star Trek mouse pad or whatever it is, but I just see that winding up in a garage sale in a while. But would you sleep better? I would, knowing I was under the same blanket for the crew of the Enterprise, blah, blah. So I call up Paramount Merchandising. I'm not a businessman, you'll understand. And I said, so what do I get if I give you a product that's like a really cool product, and you go manufacture it? And they said, well, what do you think you should get? And I said, oh, 10%. They said, deal. Oh yeah, well, that's why I'm here. So I convinced them,
Yeah, it's
they
Jordy.
didn't want to do it, to manufacture a Star Trek blanket. And they said, you know, it's not going to be fine linen or something, it's going to be coarse wool. I said, that's fine, we're on a destroyer. It's not a comfort, because it's not the Love Boat. Yes, you know, whatever. So I browbeat them over 6 months into manufacturing a blanket that they didn't want to manufacture. And
Yeah,
it came
thanks
with
for being here.
conditions. And they said, because it's going to come in a zipper case, and it will have a certificate of authenticity, and you will have to sign every certificate. So I was living in London, and these stacks of pages arrived, and every morning, before I avoided going to work, I would sit and sign another 20 of these things and send it off. And finally, they were all manufactured, and it was, or however many they started, and they said, okay, there's a Star Trek convention in Pasadena, and I had never attended a Star Trek convention, but we're going to sell them in a sort of pre-sale and see what it is, if it does. Well, they sold out so fast; they were gone before the convention even opened, and they sold well, but it was more trouble than it was worth to mighty Paramount Pictures to manufacture my blanket. I used to tell my wife, I would say, if we're ever short of money, we could always buy some of these blankets and get the 10%. Look at me pityingly. Anyway, somewhere floating out in the ether, I own several of them. They're not for sale. Are these Star Trek blankets for the Starship Enterprise, and I've slept very well ever since I got my hands on them. That's my Star Trek toy story.
I own one, and it is also not for sale.
You own one?
I do, absolutely, for decades.
Yeah. Usually we do a FAQ here, but I think we should try and take a question
Yeah,
if we can.
yeah.
So,
We love the Q&A, so we're going to skip the FAQ.
Yeah.
So
Any questions?
we can skip the microphone after this, gentlemen, because no, do your thing. I just want to make sure we get as many questions as we can.
Hello, my name is Miguel.
There we go.
Question for Mr. Meyer. Can you tell us more about your transition from film and TV to your novel?
It wasn't really a transition. I started out as a writer when I was like 5 years old. I would tell my dad stories, and he would write them down for me, and then he said,
Pre-orders will
you got to do this yourself.
later on. There's no info on that yet.
People said, when did you decide to be a writer? I never decided any such thing. I did decide that I wanted to make movies, but writing was something that I just always did. And I came to California from New York in 1971 to go into the movie business somehow. I didn't know how that was supposed to work since I didn't know anybody here. I didn't know anything. I didn't know Los Angeles by the water. Nothing. But I started to write television movies. I started to get produced. And then the Writers Guild went on strike, which we do whenever we get the chance. And I wasn't allowed to, you're not allowed to write screenplays. And I had been fascinated by Sherlock Holmes since I was age 11, and my dad gave me the complete 60 stories to read, and I got very interested in what Arthur Conan Doyle, Holmes's creator, knew about Sigmund Freud, because I knew that Holmes is a cocaine addict, and Sigmund Freud was also for a while a cocaine addict. Both Doyle and Freud were doctors. They died in the same city within 8 years of each other, something like that. And so I started cooking up this idea of Holmes being tricked into going to Vienna to get a cocaine withdrawal cure from Sigmund Freud. And I was batting this idea around for a very, very long time. Now the Writers Guild was on strike, and the woman with whom I was living said, well, now you can write your Sherlock Holmes meets
I will ask him for you.
and I had nothing else to do except pick it every day. So I wrote the 7% Solution. It never occurred to me that it would become the #1 best-selling novel in the United States. That's not in my dream lexicon. It was just something I did to kill time, and no one would have been more surprised by its runaway success, let alone that it was going to be a movie, let alone that the screenplay would be nominated for an Oscar. That was all way beyond anything. But I write Sherlock Holmes stories. I write other things too. Makes me feel good, occupies the time. But I was a filmmaker, and then the writing thing is just on the side, I guess.
Just one more question. Are you available to sign your book later?
Oh, sure. I mean, if it's fast, because I have to leave before the landlord shows.
I think this is the last question we have time for.
That's a great shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Love that movie.
Yeah, me
You
too.
know, I'm seeing her stuff into what's addicted. She was fun. I came here late, so I apologize. The figures, are they 1/6 scale or?
112.
Okay, 112. Also, the Nacelle company, are you looking at maybe other franchises you'd like to do, like maybe original Battlestar Galactica or Buck Rogers? Just curious.
You know, it's a great question. Anything we do, I always want to add value, and I think, and maybe I'm wrong, tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think Diamond did a great job with Galactica. I have every single one of the figures. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. They hold up. The faces still look great. The details great. What could we do that they didn't do? So, you know, going back to what I said earlier, we're doing Star Trek because of what wasn't made. I don't think we can add any value to Galactica. What was the other brand you said?
I would say maybe Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Buck Rogers, the problem with that is, and again, this is just my own opinion for whatever it's worth, it doesn't have what I like to call a big enough constituency. And a way that I kind of judge constituencies, you can look on the floor. How many people did you see dressed like Buck Rogers? You know, like that's... You saw two?
Only two.
You saw two. All right, well, that's two more than I saw. So you know what? You heard it here first, people. We are making Buck Rogers toys. No idea. There were two here today, so thank you for that, sir. But that's my thoughts. We turned down a brand about a month ago, exponentially bigger than Star Trek, because I'm not a fan. So and I like it. It's a great brand, but I just don't think I don't have the passion to do a good job. First of all, second of all, they've already done all of them multiple times, and they've done a great job with them. So again, what can we do that adds value? So that's why we passed on it, and I'm sure it would have been very lucrative. But yeah, so instead we're making them.
All right, well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys, for
being
watching.
here. Very much
Sorry about the thing going out. You can watch parts 1 and parts 2 now.
Buy his book. It is fantastic.